So we are looking at Rensis Likert and his concept of participative management. So what we have said is that according to Likert, he rejected this classical notion of people guided only by self-interest. He said that human beings always are part of a social organization and they always are guided by supportive relationships. And then in classical organizations, they were a failure because there was only top-down communication, strictly according to hierarchy, and there is no scope for people to interact with others. So obviously, almost 95% of people working at lower levels, they are not given any opportunity to interact with others and influence decision making within organizations. That is the reason why he said that they had become inefficient. So what is the solution? You must give opportunities for people at all levels in the organization to interact with others and also influence decision making in organizations. What we call it as interaction influence system. But is it possible in a hierarchy, in rigid hierarchies, is it possible for people at middle and lower levels to give their opinion? Obviously, it is not possible. Why? Because you have to strictly follow hierarchy. But how can you ensure interaction and influence then? Can there be any organization without hierarchy? There cannot be any organization without hierarchy. And with hierarchy, is it possible for them to interact freely with their superiors? No. The solution he has provided is through what he called it as linking pin model. Linking pin model. What did he say here? As part of his linking pin model. He said that every person in the organization is a member of two groups. That is what he said. Every person working in the organization is a member of two groups. One, the group to which he belongs to, and also his higher level group in the hierarchy. In the hierarchy. What does this mean? He has explained with the help of what he called it as these triangles. Right? These are the members of this lower level in the hierarchy. They are at lower level in the hierarchy. So, some of them will be part of the higher level group also. Like this. Some of them will be part of higher level group. For example, this is say group D, then group C, and like this, and the right. This is group B, and then group A services like this. Right. So what he is trying to say here is that every member in the organization is every person, every employee is member of two groups within the organization. The group to which he belongs to, for example, you are a group D employee, right, lower levels. And who will take decisions for you? Your superior, group C. If you are a group C employee, who will take decisions for you? Group B. If you are a group B employee, who will take decisions for you? Group A. Like that. So what he says is that as part of participative management, the lower level group employees will be given an opportunity to become part of higher level group also. Hierarchy will be there. This hierarchy will be there, but the lower level group employees will be given opportunity to become part of higher level groups. And when they become part of these higher level groups, they will be treated as equals. Here, all these are part of the higher level group, and they will be treated as equals by the higher level group employees. There is no hierarchy. They will be part of the decision making process. They will be treated as equals and they will be part of the decision making process. And what happens here? When they are treated as equals, they are given the freedom to express their opinions and everything, views and opinions. They are given the freedom to interact with the higher level groups on a equal basis without worrying about hierarchy. They are given freedom to interact with the higher level groups without worrying about hierarchy. And they are also given the opportunity to influence the decision making process in the process. They are also given opportunity to influence decision making. They are also given opportunity to influence decision making also. That means the higher level group will accept their decisions if the decisions are good. Higher level group will accept their decisions. Right? Influence their decisions. Then what else we say here? Then what else we say here is that when the decisions are accepted by a higher level group, they are also rewarded for their decisions. They are also rewarded. If the decisions are good, they are also rewarded. This is what we call interaction influence mechanism. Irrespective of your hierarchy, if you come out with a decision which is acceptable to everyone in the organization, you will be rewarded for your decision also. And when you become part of the higher level group, you are treated as equals by higher level group so that you can express your opinions in a free and frank manner. This is what Rensis Likert has said, linking pin model. For example, we have joint consultative mechanisms in India, JCMs, an example of linking pin, joint consultative mechanisms in India, JCMs, wherein the lower level employees become part of higher level in decision making. Then we can also give the example of say our governor, a linking pin. He is the linking pin between the center and the state governments, central and state governments. So this is what essentially participative management according to Rensis Likert. It is all about supportive relationships. It is all about interaction influence mechanism. It is all about linking pin model. What else are other aspects of participative management according to Rensis Likert? Next one we said is management by objectives, MBO. This management by objectives is given by it is given by Peter Drucker. We will be discussing that a little bit later, Peter Drucker. And what do we say here as part of management by objectives? Management by objectives. What we are saying here is that the objectives of organization are formulated. These objectives are formulated in consultation with, they are formulated in consultation with middle and lower levels. They are formulated in consultation with middle and lower levels. And then these employees are given complete freedom to realize those objectives. They are given complete freedom to realize those objectives. They are given complete freedom to realize those objectives. They are given complete freedom. That is what we call management by objectives, participatory. Then next one is sensitivity training. We already have discussed. And participatory decision making process. All of them are one and the same at the end of the day. So this is what we say is like it's participative management system for. In Rensis like participative management, it is the collective responsibility of the employees. It is the collective responsibility of the employees because it is supportive relationships. Employees take collective responsibility for their decisions and also implementation of those decisions. They take a collective responsibility for those decisions and also implementation of those decisions. Right? So this is what. Then proceeding further, Rensis Likert also has said that conflicts are inevitable in organizations. Conflicts are inevitable in organizations. These conflicts will always be there in organizations. And said that organizations must resolve conflicts to maximize efficiency. They must resolve conflicts. And he also said that these conflicts can be due to either emotional factors or ideological factors. All these things we have discussed with MP Foley. Either due to emotional factors or ideological factors. Emotional factors or ideological factors. What do we mean by that? Emotional factors means we don't like a particular person. That is the reason why there is conflict. Whatever that person does is, looks like bad for us. Emotional. Ideological factors means it can be because of work procedures and work processes. And he said that conflict resolution should always take place through integration. Conflict resolution should always take place through integration. That is what he said. Conflict should always be resolved through integration. So this is what Rensis Likert's participative management. Then let us look at criticism. As you can see, almost we have discussed the same thing. Right? Criticism of Rensis Likert. His theory is also a descriptive theory. It is also a descriptive theory. Why do we say that his theory is a descriptive theory? So he said that S4, system 4 is the best style of management. Participative management. S4 is the best system of management. How many else he had spoken about? He had spoken about S1, S2 and S3. But he did not explain how we can move from S1 to S2 or S2 to S3 and S3 to S4. What can organizations do to move from S1 to S2 and S2 to S3 and S3 to S4? It is only a descriptive theory. Right? Next reason in the criticism is there is no empirical validity to participative management. There is no empirical validity. What are we saying here? There is no guarantee that if organizations follow participative management, they will be maximizing efficiency. There is no empirical validity. Same thing that we have discussed with Douglas McGregor. Next criticism against Rensis Likert is that he emphasized or he spoke about collective responsibility. What happens with collective responsibility? It can result in inefficiency of organizations. It can result in inefficiency of organizations. Why? Because there will not be any individual accountability like in classical organizations. There will not be any individual accountability. In classical organizations, we say that there is always individual accountability. right? In classical organizations, there is always individual accountability, right? But here, there is no individual accountability. There is what we call collective responsibility. Next criticism is that his concept of this linking pin was also criticized. It was also criticized. Why? Because they said that linking pin means only moving in triangles without decisions are taken, without decisions being made. Linking pin is nothing but moving in triangles, moving from one triangle to other triangle in the name of consultations, from here to here, from here to here, without taking decisions. It only results in procrastination, delay in decisions. Delay in decisions. And of course, his concept of integration is also idealistic in nature, just like MP Foley. His concept of integration is also idealistic in nature. Right? So this is what we say about the criticism of Francis Likert. His participative management. So these are all what we call behavioral theories of organization, behavioral theories of management, behavioral thinkers. As we said that they are all part of modern theories of leadership, wherein they believe that leadership qualities are not inherent. They can be learnt and they can be taught in classroom. On the basis of the experiments they have conducted, they said that participative management is the best style of management. All these behavioral thinkers had come out with what we call the so-called universal theories, saying that participative management is the best style of management. This was rejected by what we call contingency and situational theories. This was rejected by contingency or situational theories of leadership. This was rejected. By contingency or situational thinkers. So, what did they say? They rejected this notion of universal theories of leadership. They rejected this notion of universal theories of leadership. That means they rejected that there can be one style of leadership which can be followed by organizations all times. And what did they say? They said that leadership behavior is determined on the basis of the situation prevailing in the organization. Leadership behavior is determined on the basis of the situation prevailing in the organizations. That means not one style of leadership can be called the best. Not one style of leadership can be called the best style of leadership. They said that everything will be decided on the basis of the situation prevailing in the organizations. For example, under normal circumstances, organizations can have participative management. Under normal circumstances, organizations can have a participative management. Whereas in emergency situations, what kind of leadership is required in emergency situations? What kind of leadership? Autocratic. Autocratic leadership is required in emergency situations. Is it possible for you to consult everyone in the organization and take decisions? Obviously not. In emergency situations, autocratic style of leadership is required. Right? Depending on the situation, leadership behavior should be determined. That is what these situational or contingency thinkers have said. We'll talk about them a little bit later as part of all the latest developments in public administration. They have rejected these universal theories. They said that you cannot have any one style of leadership in organizations all the time. The leadership behavior, leadership style, leadership actions should always be determined on the basis of situations prevailing in the organization. For example, if the situation is normal, you can always consult people, take decisions on the basis of consensus, and you can also give them freedom to implement the decisions. But if you are facing an emergency situation, you must take either all the powers unto yourself only. Take all the decisions by yourself and also impose those decisions on the followers. That is what these situational or contingency theories of leadership have said. Leadership behavior should be determined on the basis of the situation prevailing in the organization. Let us see what is this. Who are the thinkers here? Let us look at some of the important thinkers here, right, in this contingency theories. First one is Hersey and Blanchard, H-E-R-S-E-Y, Hersey, and B-L-A-N-C-H-A-R-D. Hersey and Blanchard, what did they say? They said that there are 4 different styles of leadership. There are 4 different styles of leadership in organizations. And the leader must adopt one particular style of leadership depending on the situation. How do we know what style of leadership should be followed? And they said that the style of leadership in organizations is decided on the basis of 2 important variables. This style of leadership is decided on the basis of 2 important variables. What are they? First one is ability of followers. First one is ability of followers. Second one is willingness of followers. They said that the style of leadership is decided on the basis of these 2 things. Ability of followers and willingness of followers. These 2 factors will determine the style of leadership. What are they? S1, first style of leadership is telling or directing. Telling or directing. When do they follow this style of leadership? They follow this style of leadership when followers do not have any ability. They are low on competence. They are low on competence and they are also low on willingness. That means they neither have the ability nor the willingness. Where do you find these kind of situations? Mostly in classical organizations. As we discussed theory X. In theory X, people always prefer to rest or play than to work in theory X. They don't have the ability also. They neither have the ability nor willingness. They don't have either ability nor or willingness. Under those circumstances, leadership should follow what is called telling or directing. Here, leader gives more importance to production or output and profits or efficiency. He is not concerned about the people. Leader is not at all concerned about people. Leader is not at all concerned about people, nor is he concerned about interpersonal relations. Nor he is concerned about interpersonal relations. Right? This is what we say. When the followers are low on competence and low on ability and willingness also to work. Second style of leadership is S2. S2. Here, followers have some competency. They have some abilities, but they are very low on commitment. They have some abilities, but very low on commitment. And what should the leader should do? He should give importance to both to the task to be performed, and also he should also give importance to interpersonal relations. Interpersonal relations. This is where we find human relations thinkers. Interpersonal relations also. The leader should give importance both to the task as well as interpersonal relations. Social psychological factors also should be given importance. Third style of leadership is participative or supportive. Third one is participative or supportive. Here, followers have ability and competence, but they are low on motivation, commitment. They have ability and competence, but they are not motivated enough. And what should the leader do here? Obviously, leader should give more importance to interpersonal relations. How to motivate them. Because they already have ability. Leader should give importance to interpersonal relations. The last one is S4. S4. Here, followers are high on commitment as well as high on ability. High on commitment as well as high on ability. Here the leader follows what is called delegating or observing. Delegating or observing. Because they are high on commitment and high on abilities. So they need not be guided, there is nothing else is required. Just delegate all the functions to the followers and observe their performance. Focus on achievement motivation. Make the job more challenging in nature. Focus on their achievement motivation. Make the job more challenging in nature. For example, you are an IAS officer. You are an IPS officer. You are high on ability as well as high on commitment also. What should the government do? Government should give you a challenging posting. For example, you are a police officer. I will say that be the SP of this district wherein there is a lot of problem with law and order. Make your job challenging, more, so that you can also have a lot of achievement motivation. I don't have to do anything, just give you the job and observe your performance. Because here the followers have high on ability as well as high on commitment. So according to this verse in Blanchard, there are 4 different styles of leadership that can be followed by leaders in the organization depending on the situation prevailing in the organization. Situation prevailing in the organization. And they decide these 4 different styles of leadership on the basis of 2 variables: ability of followers and willingness of followers, commitment of followers. In the first, they neither have the ability nor commitment. In the second, they have some ability but low on commitment. In third, they are high on ability but low on commitment. In the fourth, both of they are high on ability as well as commitment. Depending on what the followers are, you must adopt a particular style of leadership. That is what they said. There is no what we call universal theory of leadership. What is the reason why participative management is a failure? Participative management thinkers like Douglas McGregor, like or Chris Argyris believed that only participative management is the best style of leadership. Can it be the best style of leadership when workers don't have any ability? When they don't have any ability, can you give them complete freedom? When they are not committed, can you give them complete freedom? For example, if every day I come and say that all of you are intelligent people, you can read it on your own. Yes, what is required is only a little bit of hard work on your part. I will come for 5 minutes and say that these are the topics that I wanted to discuss today. But since I know you are very intelligent people, let me adopt participative management. Can I adopt that kind of style of leadership? I wish I can do that. Right? What is the style of leadership I should be following? Classical, autocratic, dictatorial, strong, strict punishment. Right? That is what is required. Yes? Because low on commitment and low on, not low on ability, zero. Right? So that is what. And if I go by Rensis Likert and Chris Argyris and Douglas McGregor and the grandmother of all these people, MP Foley, I should be thinking that all of you are intelligent, capable and responsible. Right? All of you are capable of self-actualization. You have come to the class only to enlighten me only, right? To give me an opportunity for you to teach. Otherwise, you are not, you can do all these things on your own. Then let me adopt participative management. Right? So tomorrow onwards, that is what I will do. Every day 8:30 I will come and I said that this is the topic I wanted to discuss, but since you know all those things, I will sit here and observe, delegating and observing. You know the reason why PM is a failure, participative management. Because you can adopt this participative management only when followers are high on ability and high on commitment also. And that is where they have failed. That is the reason why these contingency thinker systems, the contingency theories, situational theories have said that everything depends on the situation prevailing in the organization. Next important set of thinkers, House and Mitchell. The name of the people, House, House, House. This is the name of the person, House. Yes. Right? House and Mitchell, Mitchell. Right? What did they say here? They had come out with what is called path-goal theory of leadership. Path-goal theory of leadership. What is this path-goal theory of leadership? They said that the goals are decided in the organization first. That is, the goals or objectives are decided. On the basis of that, they will decide the path to be followed by leaders. Pardon? This is a theory, yes. This is a theory. What kind of leadership style to be followed by leaders is decided on the goals of organization. On the goals. And they also had come out with 4 different styles of leadership. They also had come out with 4 different styles of leadership. What are they? First one is supportive leadership. As the name itself indicates, leadership will be supporting the followers. Right? When do they follow this style of leadership? When the work that is performed is technical or mechanical in nature. When the work performed is technical or mechanical in nature. It is boring, technical, mechanical. Then the leader will be supporting the followers. Right? And they will focus on increasing the self-esteem of followers. They will focus on increasing self-esteem of followers and ensure better physical working conditions, comfortable working conditions. That is what you find here. Take the case of this IT sector or BPO, right? There, they have to do the same job every day, right? You go to the office, sit in front of your laptop, and in the BPO sector, you are calling people all the time, 24 hours. Your job is mostly routine, mechanical in nature. You get bored after some point of time. So what will the organization do? In these sectors, they will make a little bit more livelier, interesting, and a little bit more entertaining. That's the reason why they are given food, they are given other comforts and luxuries in the organization, so that they don't feel bored with the job that they are performing, right? Because all the time if you have to sit in front of computers and also do the things, you get bored after some point of time. You don't have motivation. That is when you give importance to this kind of factors, like giving them food and also having organizing some kind of within the organization some kind of festivals and everything. That is what we say supportive leadership. Second one is directive leadership. Directive leadership. When do the leaders follow this kind of leadership? When the work is complex, when the work to be performed is complex and unstructured. When the work to be performed is complex and unstructured. And the workers are inexperienced. Workers are inexperienced. So what should the leaders do? They should focus on improving the capabilities, training, and constantly guiding the workers, directing the workers at each and every stage. Directing them at each and every stage. And they are also motivated through rewards. They are also motivated through rewards. This is what we call a directive style of leadership. There is not much to understand here also, right? Because it is there in the syllabus, we are doing it. Otherwise, I could have adopted participative leadership style here. I could have said that you can read all these things on your own, right? No? No, I know. Right. So third one is participative style. This is followed when employees are experts, skilled personnel. Here, leadership consults employees in decision making, participative. And they are also given complete freedom to implement those decisions. They are not only consulted, they are also given the freedom to implement those decisions. What we call participative style. And the last one is achievement oriented style of leadership. Achievement oriented style of leadership. Here, the employees are highly motivated as well as highly skilled. They are highly motivated as well as highly skilled. So, what should the leadership do? They should make the task more challenging as well as interesting in nature. They will make the task more challenging or interesting in nature. So that it results in satisfaction of higher level needs, self-actualization needs of employees. Work itself gives them satisfaction. It results in satisfaction of higher level needs. So this is what we say about leadership theory, situational or contingency. I had given some more in our notes because there not much is required. When public administration was there in the prelims as optional, they used to ask a lot of questions from these topics. Nowadays, not many questions are asked. Mostly the leadership questions are always about these strategic leaderships and what are the important qualities of leaders. That is what only. And the last theory of leadership in modern theories is management theories of leadership. The last one is management theories of leadership. So what are we discussing as part of management theories of leadership? What do we discuss as part of management theories of leadership? Here we talk about two important theories, transactional and transformational theories of leadership. Transactional and transformational theories of leadership. Transformational, Transforma, transformational. What do we say here? What do both these theories talk about is leadership should go beyond. What do they say is that leadership should go beyond mechanical implementation of rules and regulations. It should go beyond mechanical compliance of rules and regulations. Mechanical compliance of rules and regulations. That is what it says. Leadership does not mean blindly implementing the rules and regulations. Leadership means what? Leadership means changing the attitudes, values, behaviors, and work culture of people working in the organization. Leadership should focus on changing their attitudes, values, behaviors, work cultures. They must influence the followers in such a manner that they sacrifice their self-interest for the sake of the organization. They sacrifice their self-interest for the sake of the organization. That is what we have said. Leadership does not mean blind compliance of rules and regulations. You must motivate the followers. You must change their attitudes and values. You must make sure that they sacrifice their self-interest for the sake of organizations. As we discussed with Douglas McGregor also, he spoke about transactional influence wherein the superiors are willing to sacrifice their power in favor of the subordinates in the organization so that decentralization of power and participatory decision making can become a reality, possibility. There are two questions are asked this year in your public administration paper 1 and paper 2 about these things only. In paper 1, the question is about strategic leadership. In paper 2, it is about transferring power to the people at the lower levels. The central government's unwillingness to transfer power to the people at lower levels resulted in the failure of local self-governments also. That is what we have discussed in Indian administration also. That is where we need this kind of leaders. So, what is the difference between transformational and transactional? What is the difference? Again, the question was asked in your ethics paper. The same thing. What is the difference between transactional and transformational? Transformational means again changing the attitudes, values and behaviors. Both of them talk about the same thing. But the key difference here is that in case of transformational leadership, it can be for either good or bad. The changes can be for either good or bad. You are bringing changes. It can be for either good or bad. It can be for either good or bad. Right? In case of what we call transformational. For example, Adolf Hitler. He is the example of this transformational leadership. Adolf Hitler. What did he do? He created a false sense of self-esteem among the Germans. A false sense of self-esteem. Saying that Germans belong to Aryan race, and they have the divine right to rule the entire world, and which ultimately led to the Second World War, wherein more than 2 crore people died. Adolf Hitler also a great leader because he could influence the minds of the people. He could change their values. He could change their behavior. Great leader. On the other hand, we also have transactional influence, wherein you are exercising influence in a positive and constructive manner. You are exercising influence in a positive and constructive manner. The best example is Mahatma Gandhi. You can give the examples of Swami Vivekananda, Mahatma Gandhi as examples of transactional influence. Right? Or even Ambedkar. Even you can talk about Subhash Chandra Bose. They're all transactional influence. Right? This is what we say management theories of leadership. The present theory which is dominating at this point of time is management theories of leadership. That is the reason why in all our nations they talk about this transactional influence. As a leader, you must motivate your people to sacrifice their self-interest for the sake of the our nation. As a leader, you have to focus on changing their actions, behaviors, and values. Because as we study, more often than not, people are always guided by self-interest, and they are not willing to work in a group because they wanted to retain their self-esteem or identity. And work in always organizations is a group activity. So you must make the followers sacrifice their ego, self-esteem, and work for the organization, and also ensure that people at lower levels are given opportunities. As we studied decentralization and participative management, they are possible only when the leader can exercise transactional influence. That is what at this point of time we say leadership theories talk about. This is what we call strategic leadership also. A leader who can think from a long-term perspective. A leader who can visualize what is going to happen in the future and can prepare the organization accordingly. Proactive, dynamic, visionary leader who can exercise transactional influence over the followers. It is not about mechanical compliance of rules and regulations. It is all about influencing the people, their attitude, their values, their behavior, so that they can work selflessly to achieve what is called integration, a win-win situation within the organization. So these are all what we call leadership theories, traditional as well as modern theories of leadership. In traditional theories of leadership, we spoke about great man theory and trait theory of leadership. In modern theories of leadership, we have seen behavioral and systems or contingency and management theories of leadership. In behavioral theories of leadership, we have seen managerial grid developed by Blackie and Morton, and then Kurt Lewin leadership on the basis of decision making. Then Rensis Likert system 4. In contingency theories of leadership, we have seen House and Mitchell 4 styles of leadership and path goal theory of leadership. And then in the management theories, we spoke about transactional and transformational leaderships. Transformational leaderships. So from this, let us move forward. In motivation, we have seen what is called content theories of motivation. And then now we have to look at modern theories of motivation, which is called process theories of motivation. Process theory of motivation. Process theory of motivation. And this is given by Stacey Adams. STAUCY, Stacey Adams. What are we talking about here? Very simple here. So what we are saying here is that content theories of motivation talk about what of motivation. what really motivates people. In content theories of motivation, I like a hierarchy of needs. We said that human beings are motivated by deficiency of a particular need. It can be basic needs, security needs, social needs, or so on and so forth. Or two-factor theory of motivation given by Frederick Herzberg, hygiene factors and motivators. Factors which result in satisfaction are different from factors which can result in dissatisfaction. Whereas this process theory of motivation, they talk about how of motivation, how to ensure that motivation is present among the people working in the organization. So what did the process theories of motivation say? They say that satisfaction is not absolute. Satisfaction or motivation is not absolute. It is relative in nature. It is relative in nature. Whereas content theorists believe that it is only absolute. What do we mean by this? Motivation. What do we mean by this? When we say that it is a relative in nature, satisfaction. Let us assume that you and your friend are preparing for UPS examination, and that person gets into IAS. You get into some small rank, 700 rank. Will you be happy? Yes or no? Both of you started preparing at the same time, right? That person gets into IAS, you get into lower services like defense accounts or something like that. Will you be happy or not? Yes or no? Anyone who is happy? Yes? You will be happy. Right. I can understand at this point of time. Service itself is a dream, you know. Right. Otherwise, will you be happy? Yes? Yes or no? What is human nature? Both of you started preparing at the same time. Both of you studied the same thing from same books. And he got into IAS and you got into lower services. Group B services. Happy or not? I am asking a question. No. On the other hand, what do? Given an opportunity, you don't mind killing that person also. Out of jealousy and revenge. Right? And you will start abusing God left, right and center. Right? In all kinds of languages. Of course, Punjabi language is always helpful there also, right? So you will say that, God, you don't have any heart. You are such a cruel person. I studied 14, 15 hours a day. And this guy always moving on the streets only. And never studied. And he got into IAS. Where is justice in this world? Right? Yes? That is what quite human nature. The human nature is always to compare ourselves to others. It is quite, even if we don't like it, that is what is human nature. Yes or no? Have you made any kind of comparison? Yes? Every day you do that. Right? That is the reason why there is small inner story also here to talk about these things. We are always influenced by these factors only, jealousy and these kind of things. As human beings, we cannot overcome them. So two people, let us say A and B, they are, praying to God penance. So God has come in front of them. Tell me, what do you want? First he approaches A, says, tell me, what do you want? A thinks for a while. Both of them are very close friends, A and B. A thinks for a while and tells God that I don't want anything. Just give me double of what you are giving to B. Right? If you are giving B 10 rupees, give me 20 rupees. If you are giving me 1 billion, give me 2 billion. That is what. God had said that, fine, no problem. And he goes to B, asks him, what do you want? He says, what is the demand of A. What does he want? God has said that I should give him double of whatever I am giving to you. And B thinks for a while and says that take out one of my eyes. And A will be completely blind. So this is what is human nature. Whether we like it or not, all of us are like B only. Yes? If anyone says that they are not like that, I would like to see them. Because Gangaram Hospital is waiting. They don't have any patients due to corona. So completely free. If anyone says that, I am above all these things. I want, as we studied with the third Middleburg Conference, human flourishing for all. I want happiness for every person. Anyone? That is what it says. Satisfaction is always relative. That is what these process theories of motivation they say. They say that satisfaction and motivation, they are completely relative in nature. They are not absolute. Whereas content theories of motivation, they say that satisfaction is absolute. What do you mean by that? You have a deficiency of a particular need. It is satisfied and you are happy. You are motivated to work for it. But in reality, it does not work like that. In reality, it is always relative in nature. For example, in our nations, two people A and B are working. Now, what did the management do? It has increased the salaries of both A and B in the same proportion. That means both their salaries are increased by 100 rupees each or 1000 rupees each. What content theories of motivation will say that both of them will be happy because their salaries are increased. What process theories of motivation say that they are not? For example, between A and B, A is very hardworking and B is not at all. If you are increasing the salary of A in the same manner as that of B, does A feel happy or satisfied? Obviously not. Why? He compares himself to B. And here in this case what is happening? B is not at all hardworking. He is lazy. He comes to the office very late. And most of the time he spends only in gossiping with others. And at the end of the year, you are increasing the salary of B in the same manner as that of A, who is very sincere, disciplined and hardworking. Will A be happy? That is what process theories of motivation they say. They say that satisfaction is relative. How does we compare A and B compare each other? They compare on the basis of the reward they are getting and the amount of effort they are putting in. And that is the reason why this process theories of motivation becomes very, very important. Why? Because in organizations, if they have to maximize the satisfaction levels or motivation levels of the employees, what they must do? They should not increase the salaries uniformly for each and every person. That is what content theories of motivation say. Increase the salaries uniformly, everyone will be happy, which is not the case. Then what should be done? It should be done on the basis of what we call equity. Adams' equity theory. It should not be done on the basis of equality. It should be done on the basis of equity. Equity means those who are working very hard, they should be rewarded more. They should be rewarded more. Right? That is what we say. And that is the reason why, what is the reason why our bureaucracy is highly inefficient? Why our bureaucracy is inefficient? Why? Because there is no motivation for them to be efficient. You are an IAS officer, you are, your salary is same as the salary of another officer who is extremely hardworking. You don't work at all. You go to the secretariat and enjoy your life and come back. You don't work at all. But you will be getting the same kind of increment as the person who is very hardworking. So what is the motivation for you to improve your performance? That is the reason why from first pay commission onwards till now, every pay commission has recommended what is called piece rate system in India. That is performance based incentives, so that you are motivating people. That is where equity theory becomes important. Adams' equity theory. Adams' equity theory becomes very, very important. And that is also the reason why overall the bureaucracy, their performance is not efficient. Why? Because, as we discussed again, take the case of the salary of a cabinet secretary. What is salary of cabinet secretary? Around 3 lakh rupees per month, after working for more than 35 years. What is the salary of a fresh IIM graduate who joins Google or IIT graduate? His salary is 2 crore rupees per annum. That means 2 crores means per month almost 20 lakhs. Right? A fresh engineering graduate who is 25 years old is getting 20 lakh rupees per month. On the other hand, an IAS officer who has put in 35 years of service is getting 3 lakh rupees per month. Why should he be motivated? Because he always compares himself to those people who are in similar position. Take the case of public sector banks and private sector banks. SBI, chairman of SBI salary is again 2 lakh rupees or 2.5 lakh rupees per month. Chairman of HDFC Bank, his salary is 3 crores or 4 crores per month, per annum. Right? That is what we say here. Why private organizations are more efficient than public organizations? In public organizations, they always compare themselves to the people who are working in private organizations at the same level, and they are demotivated. Going by content theories of motivation, they must be happy because their salary is very high. That is not the case. They always compare themselves. And that is the reason why what is required in organizations is what we call there's a process theories of motivation. That is equity, not equality. Those who are working hard should always be paid more. And unfortunately in India what we have, pay commission recommends increment in salaries uniformly without linking it to their performance. And that is the reason why at the end of the day, they are not at all efficient also. That's why this theory becomes very, very important. Till now, in the last 75 years, we have not implemented these recommendations. That salary and other service conditions should be determined only on the basis of their performance. Right? That is the reason why our bureaucracy is inefficient. Because there is no reason for them to be efficient. For example, you are working in a finance ministry, which is very, very difficult. Lot of work is there. You are working in home ministry. Lot of work is there. And you are secretary in the finance ministry. You are secretary in the home ministry. Lot of work is there. On the other hand, you are secretary in archaeology department. There is no work. Archaeology department, what is the work? You have to deal with the people who are 5,000 years old. Only one one is still alive. And then his contemporary Manmohan Singh is there. So you have to deal with only two people. Right? But both their salaries are the same. Home ministry as well as archaeology. Right? That is where the problem is. That's the reason why Adams' equity theory becomes very, very important. So this is about theories of motivation and theories of leadership. Proceeding further, let us look at theories of decision making. We have already seen all those things. Let us try to recall all of them. Right? Theories of decision making. So, what are the steps involved in decision making? As we studied, there are no theories, we have discussed all of them, so don't worry. Right? What are the steps involved in decision making? Intelligence activity, design activity, choice activity, then after that, decision implementation, then decision feedback and decision review and decision evaluation. These are the different stages involved in decision making, in decision. Right? This is what we have discussed as part of public policies also. What are the different types of decision that we find people taking in organizations? We said that according to Herbert Simon, two different types of decisions. What are they? Programmed decisions and non-programmed. As we said, this programmed and non-programmed is derived from artificial intelligence, computer language. Programmed decisions means which are routine daily decisions which do not require any kind of intelligence, and they don't have to predict anything. The people working in the organization in those places, when they are taking decisions, they don't have to worry about put in any kind of cognitions or their abilities to predict the outcomes. Everything is very simple. In case of non-programmed decisions, you are taking into consideration social factors, psychological factors, economic factors, and environmental factors. So it requires a lot of what we call analysis, cognitions, abilities on the part of the people. They must do a lot of research. They must look at the outcomes, both anticipated and unanticipated, and they must come out with proper procedures and proper processes to arrive at decisions, non-programmed decisions. That is the reason why these non-programmed decisions can be taken only by people at the top, right? Whereas programmed decisions are taken by people at middle and lower levels. Then another division here is, we talk about three different types of decisions. One is strategic decisions. Second one is tactical decisions. Third one is managerial decisions or operational decisions. Strategic, tactical, and operational decisions. Strategic decisions, then tactical and operational. Strategic decisions are nothing but non-programmed decisions which have long-term impact on organizations, which are taken by people at top levels in organizations. Then the second one is managerial decisions. These decisions are taken by people at middle level in the organizations regarding how to implement the policies. And then last one is operational decisions. This is like what we call programmed decisions, which are taken by people at lower levels. People at lower levels in organization. That is why we say that leaders decide what to do and managers decide how to do. What to do is decided by leaders. Leaders are the ones who take strategic decisions. Leaders always decide what to do. They take policy decisions, strategic decisions, long-term decisions. Whereas managers decide how to do the things. Planning will be done by managers. If you remember, we spoke about rationalist paradigm in public policy analysis. And what did we say there? We said that the rationalist paradigm was a failure because these thinkers could not differentiate between what is policy and what is planning. Policy decisions are always taken by the people at the top, that is the ministers. And planning decisions are taken by bureaucracy who are at the middle level. That is what we are saying here. Bureaucrats are managers at the middle level, right? And what are the different techniques in decision making? We have seen all those things as part of a rationalist paradigm, right? We have discussed about this 2% zero sum game, prisoner's dilemma, SWOT analysis, pestle analysis, right? Pareto optimality. These are all the things that we already have seen. These are all the what we call latest developments in decision making. These are all Delphi techniques, matrix organizations. These are all decision matrix. These are all what we call latest developments. Basically using mathematical and statistical models to arrive at what we call more rational decisions. Right? Did we see all of them? Yes? Very good. We have seen it even though long time back, last week. Still you remember, right? Which is a huge amount of improvement, incredible achievement, right? Next, after decision making, communication. Let us see what is this communication. Again, we have discussed all these things. We are repeating only. What is communication? Communication means exchange of ideas, opinions, views. That is what we call communication. Why do we need communication? Why do we need communication? As human beings, we are social animals. Either we have to communicate. We should always communicate with others. And what are the different types of communication? Verbal and non-verbal communication. Verbal communication means, face-to-face talk, right? Non-verbal communication means written communication. And of course, in Punjab, another communication is there, non-verbal, body language, right? The best form of communication, right? Right now in Punjab elections, I think there is mostly non-verbal communication only, right? So they are calling each other with all kinds of names, right? In Punjab elections. It is good entertainment, You watch the election speeches, very good entertainment. Whenever you feel depressed, you see these things. Very good entertainment. Because Tom and Jerry has become old. Right? So that is the thing. And Prime Minister was not even allowed also. He had become untouchable in his own country. So non-verbal communication, written communication. In written communication you have formal letters, you have email, SMS, WhatsApp. What is there to discuss all these things, right? At least one person should have shame to discuss all these things. Right? Then why do we need communication in our nations? What is the significance of communication? As we discussed in Chester Bernard, why communication is required in our nations? Communication is needed to formulate the objectives. People come together in a voluntary manner and it is needed to formulate the objectives, common objectives. Then communication is needed to decide the hierarchical levels. Communication is needed for recruitment purposes also. Communication is needed to ensure coordination between the people. And in whether it is classical or neoclassical organizations or behavioral organizations, authority means communication. According to Joseph Bernard, he defined authority as the character of a communication by virtue of which it is being accepted by the member of organization. So communication means authority, right? Then communication is also needed to resolve the conflicts between the people working in the organization. Then we also need a communication to motivate the people. Leadership must use his communication skills to motivate others to work for the organization. Leader must use his communication skills to motivate the people to work for the organization. Then communication is also needed for informal organizations. Without communication, there cannot be any informal organization. Then communication is also needed for expanding the scope of zone of indifference. Communication is also needed to evaluate the performance of people working in the organization. Communication is also needed for disciplinary measures. Communication is also needed to evaluate the overall performance of the organization. Communication needed for feedback and review mechanisms. That is the reason why Cheshire Bernard has said that communication is the lifeblood of any organization. Right? And then proceeding further, there is something called Shannon's model of communication. What is the Shannon model of communication? Very simple. He explained this communication process with the help of a telephone instrument. Shannon, Shannon. He explained this process with the help of a telephone instrument. So, how does this communication takes place through telephone? I hope you have seen telephone also. Yes? Nowadays everything is mobile only. In how many houses nowadays people have still landline? Do people have still landline in your house? No? No or yes? No. Landline has become ancient. After some point of time you find that in a National Museum also here. Right? So, some of you are engineers, I think. Yes or no? Yes? Answer with lot of caution. Yes. So, please explain me the functioning of a telephone instrument, how it works. For example, if I make a call, if I dial a number, after that what happens? Yes. Yes, what happens? Those who studied physics, right? Not from Bihar, you know. Otherwise, in Bihar there is no difference between physics and metaphysics. Yes, how does this communication works? Telephone instrument. That is what I always say. The basic problem with our education system is it is completely lopsided. Those who study arts will never know basic aspects about physics or chemistry. Those study who study economics don't know anything about history. And those study physics don't know anything about philosophy. Completely compartmentalized. Right? So tell me, how does a telephone instrument works? Yes. How does a telephone works? If you look at me, I'll be looking at you. Both of us will be looking at each other with a lot of admiration in our eyes. I'll be admiring your innocence. Right? Yes. How does it work? Because this is what they are asking in UPS interview. If you study engineering, if you are a mechanical engineer, they will ask you, tell us about the principle behind the functioning of, say, a refrigerator or a washing machine. Yes, how does it work? In your telephone, there is an instrument that will convert these sound waves into electromagnetic waves. And they will travel through the lines. And they will go to the station, other telephone station. You are calling from, say, Delhi to Hyderabad. From here, they will go to the telephone station. From there, they will travel to Hyderabad through lines, telephone lines. And then they are received by the station there, telephone station. From there, it will come to your instrument. Again, in your telephone instrument, in a telephone, another instrument is there that will convert these electromagnetic waves into sound waves so that you can hear. That is the what we call the technology. In a whole thing is all about converting these sound waves into electromagnetic waves. Again, reconverting them into sound waves so that you can hear. So Shannon model of a communication is based on the functioning of a telephone instrument. You have a person who is the sender, other person is the receiver, in between the instrument. Then you have the channel of communication. In the same manner, we also talk about the same thing as part of communication. One person is sending the message, other person is receiving the message, in between the channel of communication and also the message and also the medium of communication. All this is there. So coming back here, what are the major barriers to communication? If you are communicating something to other person, what are the major barriers to communication? What do you think is a major barrier to communication? What is a major obstacle to communication? First and foremost, obviously it has to be language. Right? Language is the most important barrier to communication. If other person does not know what you are speaking, then what is the point? What is the point? Language. If you remember, while discussing Indian administration, I said that yes, there are so many people who got opportunity to become Prime Minister, they could not become because of language. Right? I gave you the example of this, Kamaraj Nadar from Tamil Nadu. He should have become the Prime Minister of the country after the death of Jawaharlal Nehru. But he said that I cannot become the Prime Minister because language. He knew only Tamil and neither Hindi nor English. That is what he said. No Hindi, no English, and no Prime Minister. Language becomes very important barrier to communication. You are from Punjab and you are posted in Kerala, right? How do you deal with them, right? And those languages are very difficult. South Indian languages are very difficult to learn also. So that is the reason why our post students who are posted there, they always find it difficult. Language is always a major problem when it comes to communication for any person. It is the most important problem, in fact. Language is the most important barrier to communication, unless, of course, you believe in body language. Then it is universal language. Right? Have you experienced this kind of trouble? Did you travel out of your home state? Yes. Did you travel to any state where the language that you speak is not spoken in that state? Yes? Yes or no? With your NPL status, it becomes difficult also. Right? Yes. Traveled? And did you find it difficult? Yes. You know, go to Tamil Nadu. They don't speak Hindi deliberately and consciously. Right? So, English also they don't speak. And how do you communicate? Right? That is where the problem is. And you are from Kerala, comes to Uttar Pradesh. Everything is written in Hindi only. For you, Hindi is same as Latin or Greek. Yes, all of them are one and same. Sorry. So how do you communicate? That is where the problem. That is the reason why the question was also asked this year. India is a country of subcontinental proportions. Because the kind of, how many languages we have? Not one or two, 1200 languages are there, 1400 languages are there. Right? After every 20 kilometers, the dialect also changes. Hindi spoken by people from Western Uttar Pradesh is different from Eastern UP. With them themselves also they cannot understand. Right? Those who are from UP cannot understand what one person is speaking. And then language of Bihar nobody knows. Tribal languages, very ancient. What is that? Bhojpuri? Right? Is it a language or a dialect? Dialect. Okay. Hindi only? Devanagari script? And what about Maithili? Is it a language? Language? No, or a dialect? Language. Maithili is a language. Okay, very good. See, I am coming to know about so many great things. Right? Yes. And how many different languages are spoken in Uttar Pradesh? For that they should know also. Leave it, illiterate people. Okay, right? So that is the thing. Language is always a major barrier to communication. That's the reason why India can never be united. Because of language barriers. The only thing that Britishers have done is that they have united India with English language. English has become the link language. As we studied in Indian administration also, this language had become the reason for regionalism in India. It can result in secessionism also. Right? Because of the tendency of the central government to impose Hindi on non-Hindi speaking states. Language becomes an important barrier to communication. What are the other barriers to communication? Next barrier to communication is selective perception. Selective perception. What do you mean by that? For example, when you are writing answers, I cannot say that, I cannot be very blunt and say that these answers are rubbish and throw them into the dustbin. So you feel bad, right? So what do I say? Answers are good, but little bit improvement is needed. Right? And you will take the first part, answers are good. Second part, everyone needs improvement. Who am I? Nobody is perfect. That is what is called selective perception. This is where the problem is. We always try to understand the things only from our own comfort levels. We never try to understand the reality. That is what the politicians also do, selective perception. That is the reason why they lose elections also. They can never understand, as I said, Beagle factor, what is there in front of them. Either in UP right now, they are only talking about either religion or caste. Nobody is talking about development. Nobody is talking about inflation. Let the people speak then. Right? That is what we say selective perception. Next important barrier to communication we say is this tendency of the people to what we call hide the truth when they are speaking. Diplomatic in their language. That is what happens. So what do we do is that you don't speak truth in a blunt manner, right? Because we are living in a society, we have to temper our emotions and feelings, and we have to speak a little bit more refined language, right? That also creates problems. For example, look at the government documents. In none of the government documents, you will see that failure is a word that is there in the government documents. They never accept that there is something called a failure of policies. So what do they say? The policies are successful, but at the same time they have not been able to realize the expectations of people. That is what they say. Policies are highly successful, but at the same time they have not been able to realize the expectations of people. So whose problem is here? People, because they have expectations. They never say they are a failure. They are a failure. They will say that we are rationalizing expenditure. Rationalizing means reducing expenditure. They never say reducing expenditure. Typical bureaucratic language. This also becomes a barrier to communication. Another barrier to communication is what we call too many hierarchical levels can result in distortion of communication. Too many hierarchical levels. Too many hierarchical levels. Because if the communication is passing from one level in the hierarchy to the other level, obviously it will be distorted. Right? And then there will be noise in communication. For example, you are talking on your mobile phone and you don't want to talk to that person. After 2-3 minutes you will say that you cannot hear. You will say hello, hello, and I cannot hear you, and you will put the phone down. Right? That is what you have done so many times. Yes? Yes or no? We have done it. All of us have done it. Right? So that is what we say noise is also a barrier to communication. And then we also talk about something called meta communication. What is this meta communication? Meta communication means communicating about communication. Meta communication means communicating about communication regarding how to communicate. That is what is called meta communication. You are communicating about communication regarding how to communicate. What do you mean by this? What is the meaning of this communication? What is the meaning of this communication that you have written? Communicating about communication regarding how to communicate. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? This is what nowadays we find all over the world. You should know how to communicate. Public speaking is an art as well as a science. You should know how to communicate, what kind of words to use, how to arouse the feelings and emotions, of people in your public speeches. That is what we say meta communication. You are teaching people how to communicate in a more effective manner. Communicating about communication regarding how to communicate. That is the reason why you can see all over the country you have a so-called English speaking schools. They will teach you how to speak English. Right? When Sonia Gandhi, for the first time, entered into politics in 1997, she did not know much about Hindi, for that matter, English also. What did she do? She would write all her public speeches, which she has to give in Hindi in her own Italian language in big letters. Then she would read them in front of the people. And she had taken a very good number of classes regarding Hindi so that she could speak fluently in front of people. Because if you have to be a leader, you must have excellent communication skills. That is what Narendra Modi realized, when he decided that he should come onto the national stage. What is required? If you have to be a national leader in India, you need to have good command over Hindi. Right? Look at all of them. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, excellent communicator. So is the case with Indira Gandhi, excellent communicator. And she would tell in 1971 elections, they wanted to remove me as Prime Minister because opposition parties had come out with the slogan Indira Hatao, remove Indira Gandhi. And she came out with another slogan, Garibi Hatao. And she would go to the people and tell them that I want to remove your poverty. And opposition parties wanted to remove me from position. You please decide. People would cry. They would become emotional. Here comes a widow. Not exactly. And old woman. Not exactly. And coming to rescue us. She defeated all of them. Communication skills. That is what, our Prime Minister in 2014 had spoken about this Achhe Din, that you please elect me to positions of power, then see what happens. What kind of good days you can always write. That is what. Communication. Still, nobody can beat Narendra Modi when it comes to communication. No, he is an excellent communicator, orator. Nobody can question that. And why Rahul Gandhi loses out? Because of communication. When Rahul Gandhi speaks, except his mouth, all his body parts will be moving violently. He would start like doing like this and start, like this. That is not, he has some Punjabi, I think, blood, right? So that is where he's not a great communicator. Sonia Gandhi, she never talks. Manmohan Singh, long time back. So who are there in good communication? In opposition, who are there? Who can, on the other hand, take someone like Lalu Prasad Yadav, excellent communicator. We people outside Bihar, call, think that he is a buffoon, cartoon character, but he is an excellent communicator. If you look at all the leaders, all of them, why Mamata Banerjee cannot become the Prime Minister? Because her, knowledge of Hindi is very bad. When she speaks Hindi, we don't know whether it is Hindi or Bengali or a combination of both, or a merger of both the things. We don't know anything. Right? And that is the reason why. That's the reason why there is no national opposition to Narendra Modi. Because nobody can beat him when it comes to communication skills. It is the communication, we are living in this age of communication, wherein the communication decides whether you are a leader or not. Right? That is where it is, Modi scores over all others. And, he will go to Tamil Nadu, he will speak in Tamil. He learns languages very fast also. Yeah, he spoke in Bangla only. He goes to Punjab and he can speak body language also. He can do all those things. Right? So that is what, he is an excellent communicator. So is, Jawaharlal Nehru. Except that we cannot understand what they say. He spoke about we still talk about that famous speech on 15th of August. We made tryst with our destiny. We don't know what is it till now. Right? When Nehru used to speak, people would open Oxford Dictionary to find out the meaning. We are talking about the Englishmen, not Indians. So that is what Shashi Tharoor, he comes out with one word a day. which Oxford Dictionary includes every day. Because he speaks about all those words which are not there in the dictionary. Right? Communication is always a very, very important aspect in making, in converting you into a good leader. Narendra Modi, as I said, he had done extreme hard work in terms of learning Hindi language, especially colloquial language. You have to speak in terms of the common man, not like an intellectual. And he was extremely successful also. That is the reason why even in United Nations also, any other multilateral organizations, he would only speak in Hindi. Nobody can understand there. Right? You must have seen recently also, he was addressing World Economic Forum. He was speaking in Hindi. Nobody, the guy who was introducing Narendra Modi, he was looking at him with completely emotionless because he does not know what Modi is saying. Right? Because Modi believes only in speaking in Shuddha Hindi. He would, translate World Economic Forum also into Hindi, and he says, right? By the way, what is World Economic Forum in Hindi? Let me test your knowledge of Hindi then. Right. 1-0. Right. Let me test. Coffee. What is Hindi? Right? Yes. What is Hindi term of coffee? Telephone, Hindi? Pardon? Mobile? What is the Hindi term of computer? Laptop? Or mobile? Right. So now you know what about your knowledge of your own mother tongue, right? Right. So that is what communication becomes very important. So this is all about communication. Then we also have this informal organizations which can spread the communication. Don't look at all these things in the mobile. Google. She's trying to find out what is a mobile in Hindi through Google. Right. That is the reason why UPSC asked that question. That self-discovery has been outsourced to digital technologies. Right. That is what. So then you will be, writing your name and who am I also on Google. I don't know. I'm asking. I am Woodrow Wilson, who raises questions only. Yeah, tell me, what is coffee? Pardon? Hindi coffee? Hindi coffee? Yes. Tea, I think you know. Yes. What is coffee then? Right? Someone from Bihar or UP, he was asked to spell coffee. What is the spelling he had written? Right? Kauphy. Not even a single alphabet is matching. Kauphy, coffee. Right? Not even a single alphabet. Right? So, I would not feel bad if you don't know what is coffee, Hindi meaning of coffee. Because when you write coffee like this, right? So this is about communication. And then we have what else we have to look at? We have to look at the last concept, that is moral. Morale. Mm, right? Moral. What is this moral? We have seen motivation, right? Let us see what is this moral. So what do we say is that if you look at modern industrial life, what we say is that it is characterized by high levels of uncertainty and insecurity. Why? Because there is so much of insecurity regarding your job, your future, everything else, especially in private organizations, right? Because there is no job security. You can work in the organization only when two conditions are fulfilled. One is you have to be efficient. Second, organization also has to be efficient. For example, you are efficient, but organization is incurring losses. Then what happens? You lose your job. Second, organization is efficient, but you are not efficient. Then also you lose your job. So with so much of insecurity and uncertainty, what happens? It becomes difficult for people to maximize their potential or efficiency all the time. With so much of insecurity and uncertainty. Because they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You can see due to Corona in the last 2 years, if you happen to read today's Indian Express also, it has said that more than 52% of population again had become poorer because of Corona. Because people have lost their jobs and they are not getting jobs because Corona is celebrating birthdays after every 3-4 months. Right? First wave, second wave, third wave. So service sector is completely in doldrums. So under these circumstances, you are working in a hotel. Can the management pay you salary if there are no customers? Now you are in the service sector. Automatically, there is a lot of insecurity. Under those circumstances, you don't know what's going to be your future. That is the reason why we say that morale of the people working in the organization is very low. Similarly, take the case of civil servants, these IAS officers and IPS officers in India. We say that their morale is very low. Why? Because what is happening with the government is that government always rewards corrupt officers and punishes honest officers. That is what they want, only those bureaucrats who will say yes to them. On the other hand, if you are a very honest officer, you are highly motivated. But the organization, the situation in the organization is such that your morale is also very, very low. All those honest officers, they feel that they are being punished by the government for their honesty. Someone like Ashok Khemka. Right? So this is when we say that morale of civil servants is very low because of politicization of civil services. We have a completely blatant politicization of civil services because politicians only want those officers who are willing to dance to their tunes. That is where the problem is. You are highly motivated within yourself. You got into services with the objective of working for the people and serving the country. But the overall conditions in the organization are such that your morale is always very low. Because you know that organization will not come to your rescue if something happens to you. You are a very honest police officer. You will always be transferred. You will never be given important postings. Right? You will always be given what is called loop line postings. And then you know that your colleagues also don't like you because you are a very honest officer. That is when your morale will be very, very low. That is what we say here. Let us try to exactly see what exactly this morale and how it is different from motivation. So as you can see here, we say that morale is nothing but the mental and physical well-being of people working in the organization. Physical and mental well-being of people working within the organization. Basically what we say is that this moral is a group phenomena. It is a group phenomena. What we are saying here is that it is the capacity of the people to pull together consistently. It is the capacity of the people to pull together consistently in pursuit of a common purpose. There are so many challenges within the organization and outside the organization, but you are consistently pulling together, working together to realize the objectives of organization. It is not related to morality. Morality is related to values. Moral is related to collective sense of feeling of people. Morality is related to values. Right? It is dependent on the mood of the people working in the organization, mood and sentiment of the people working in the organization. For example, we say that this third wave of corona, it has drastically reduced the morale of the industry because they don't know what is going to happen in the future, especially as I said, service sector, hospitality sector, right? And this morale of the organization depends on the ability of the organization to protect the interests of the people. It depends on the ability of the organization, the management, ability of the management to protect the interests of the people working in the organization. For example, you know that the management is always there to protect your interests, then automatically your morale will be very high. Management is there to take care of your interests. Management is there to come to your rescue. Management is there to protect your job. Then automatically the morale will be very high. Right? Then it is nothing but the perception of employees regarding management. This morale is nothing but the perception of the employees. In case of civil services, it is the perception of the civil servants regarding political executive. It is nothing but the perception of employees regarding the management. So proceeding further, what is the difference between motivation and morale? What can be the difference between motivation and morale? There is only one basic difference. Motivation is individualistic and morale is group phenomena. Rest of all of them are come from that only. Motivation is inner state of mind. You are motivated internally. It is an inner state of mind that energizes and directs behavior towards goal. When are you motivated to work? You are motivated when you feel the deficiency of a particular need. Then you are motivated. Whereas morale is a group feeling of competence and confidence reinforced by satisfaction. Morale is all about group feeling. As we have mentioned, motivation is individual's willingness to work. That is what we say. Motivation is always about individual's willingness to work. Whereas morale is a group phenomena. Motivation means inspiring people. You are motivating people means you are inspiring people. Morale includes not only inspiring people, it includes total attitude towards oneself. Total attitude. Motivation is about only the job. It concentrates only on the job. That means it only talks about the content of the job, motivation. Whereas moral talks about all aspects of job. What do you mean by all aspects of job? You are talking about the relation between your superior, relation between with your colleagues, and the policies of the management, working conditions. All of them are part of moral. Next, we say that motivation is a function of rewards and incentives. Motivation is a function of rewards and incentives. How do I motivate you? Through rewards and incentives. What about moral? It is a function of group relationships. What a group of people think about organization. It is a function of group relationships. Motivation, we say, is energy mobilization. Motivation is energy mobilization. Whereas moral is all about mobilization of sentiments. Motivation is related to psychological aspects of a people, whereas moral is related to sociological aspects. Sociological aspects. And finally, what do we say? Collective motivation of group of people is called moral. Collective motivation of group of people is called moral. And individual moral is what we call motivation. So basically the difference between motivation and moral is always about individuals and group. Because what a group of people think can be different from what an individual believes in. Right? What are the factors that can influence morale of people working in our nation? When do we say that employees' morale will be very high? When do they believe that our nation is working for them? When do we say that? When they have fair and efficient administrative systems, as you can see here. When the organization fair and efficient administrative systems, when there is effective leadership, when employees have opportunities for growth and development, they can get promotions. For example, as we say, the morale of lower level police force is very low. Why? Because a constable can never become DGP. That is what we say. Next, salary and hours of work. Salary and hours of work. Then opportunities for recognition. Basically, we are talking about all 5 different levels of needs of Abraham Maslow here. Right? Basic needs, social needs, security needs, everything. Then economic security. Economic security. Then safe and healthy working conditions. Safe and healthy working conditions. Then cooperation of employees. Morale of management will be very high when employees are willing to cooperate with the management. Then intelligent initiatives taken by employees. Then stability and availability of employees. As you can see here, in recent times, what is happening? Most of them are leaving the organization because you have joined Infosys, you learned the job for 1 year, they have invested a lot of money on you, on your training. Immediately you will get better opportunities in Wipro. Infosys is giving 1 lakh rupees, they will say that we'll give you 1.5 lakh rupees. You leave it and join Wipro. That is when the morale of the management can be very low. We are paying you so much of salary, we have given so much of training to you, here you are leaving the organization. Stability and availability of employees. Next, loyalty of employees. That is also very important. Loyalty of employees. Then, ability of employees to reduce cost of production. These are all the factors that can maximize the morale of management organization. These are all very straightforward things, I think. Yes? Right. So this is what what we have said is that higher morale in the organization can lead to higher efficiency. If the morale of people working in the organization is high, it can result in higher efficiency. But there are so many other factors that determine the efficiency of organization, right? Than morale. There are so many factors that determine efficiency of organizations, right? Apart from morale. What are the factors that determine efficiency? Efficiency means here profits. What are the factors? For example, market conditions, policies of the government. For example, government suddenly increases import in the customs duties, then automatically your cost of production will go up. Then competition also decides efficiency. Then tastes and preferences of people. For example, when mobile phones had come to country for the first time, we had only Nokia phones, small ones. And does anyone have those kind of phones nowadays? What happened to them? That is what tastes and preferences of people have changed. They realize that since they cannot become smart, at least they should have smartphones. Right? Right. I think all of you have smartphones. Yes? Right. Tastes and preferences of people, they keep on changing. Right? But one thing that is not changing in Delhi is cold. It is very cold, right? No? Yes. That is what I used to think. And yesterday I was talking to one of our friends in Canada, and I said it is very cold in Delhi. And that person started laughing. And they showed me through the window minus 18 degrees temperature. In Toronto it is minus 18 degrees. So in Delhi it is 13 degrees, we are feeling cold. 14 degrees in the morning. And there minus 18 degrees. Then I said that, thank you very much. Everything is relative in this world. Right? And for them in Canada, 30 degrees temperature means heat wave. 30 degrees temperature in summer is heat wave. Right? Can you imagine? And coming from the place where I am, it is called, during the British times, it was called Blejwada. Later it was called Bejawada or Vijayawada. Blejwada because it was so hot, blazing sun. So Britishers called it. And the minimum temperatures in winter also around 40 to 43 degrees. In winter. There is no, please remember, in South India there is no winter season. There is no winter season. Tamil Nadu, they start wearing all these winter clothes when the temperatures are around 45 degrees. For them that is winter. In Tamil Nadu. Right? So that is what, everything is relative. And in Canada, 30 degrees means severe winter, heat wave. And the government announces that please don't come out because heat wave. 30 degrees. Is keep yourself cool all the time. Right? That is what they do. So anyway, that is what, these things are not there in our hands. So if it is whether cold or not. And this Saturday, will there be any curfew? I don't think so. I don't think so. Right? Because cases are coming down. But, lockdown will be there, but curfew will not be there, I think. Because cases are still very high. Positivity rate is also very high. So we can have class on Saturday then. Right? So anyway, today is only Monday. In between so many things can happen. Right? whatever it may happen, but I will be there only all the time. And myself and India Gate, both of us will be here only. In between, between us, we have someone called Subhash Chandra Bose also. We have this latest fad is having as many these statutes of our leaders, because our Prime Minister believes that we have to do justice to all those leaders who have been forgotten by the Congress party. So that is the reason why you have everywhere one statue of every other leader. And they have come to me also. I said no. You know, you know, before before Subhash Chandra Bose, they approached me. I said no. Right, right. So on the one hand you have Gandhi, and on the other hand mine also. So that means you are equating. So we don't. So coming back here, and that is the reason why next time you can see by next year, and the Mahatma Modi also will be there. Already I think one cricket stadium is named after Modi only. So by next year, after he wins elections, he will change the name of the country also from India to Modi India. Right? So that is what. Let us look at what are the other factors. Next one, as we have said, is taste and preferences of people. Then available. For example, you can see now this mobile industry is facing a lot of problems because of the availability of technology. Next, what are the other factors? Then the political conditions in the country also. And then a law and order situation. Nowadays we have to include viruses also. Right? Viruses also. Right? But you cannot write them. These are all the factors. Then what are the other factors? We have in India these NGOs, civil society organizations and judiciary, because we are witnessing their activism. You want to start a factory, immediately Medha Patkar, Arundhati Roy, they will go and they will sing, dance, cry, sleep, and they will make sure that factory will never come up there. These are all the factors. Then you have the regulatory authorities, effectiveness of regulatory authorities. Why Vodafone and all of them have failed? Because failure of Troy to stop the predatory pricing of Reliance Jio. That is when they went out of the market. And then global economic conditions. And then you can include moral and motivation. These are all the factors that will influence. These are all the factors that will influence what we call the efficiency of our nations. Efficiency of our nations. These are all the factors that influence the efficiency of our nation, out of which moral is only one of those factors. Right? So this is what about moral and motivation, all these things. And from here we can move on to the next topic in our syllabus. Right? Again, we will go to what is called personal administration. And we have to look at something else in paper 1, that is system theories and contingency theories and everything else. That after completing all these things, we will see them as part of latest developments in public administration. So personal administration. Here we are looking at 4 important topics in our syllabus. First one is personal administration in paper 1. Personal administration in paper 1. Second one is civil services in India in paper 2. Third one is administrative reforms in India since independence. Administrative reforms in India since independence in paper 2. administrative reforms in India since independence in paper 2. And the fourth one is techniques of administrative improvement. Techniques of administrative improvement in paper 1. 4 topics. Not only this, we will be covering almost your entire ethics paper, and in polity governance paper, civil services also. Right? So this is what we are discussing. And what are the sources? Of course, the primary source is our notes which I had given to you. Right? Then second ERC report, the 10th report of second ERC. 10th report of second ERC on personal administration, civil services. And they should be fine. Right? But you have to read the entire report, 10th report, because not only 10th report, in the report that you have to read is ethics in governance. Second year only. Ethics in governance. 2 reports. These 2 reports you have to read. And what you can do is that when tomorrow when you come to the class, you can get the second year I have given you summary of recommendations. Yes? A long time back. In 2009. Right? All of you have got it? Those I think those who joined in December, they did not get it. So tomorrow they will get it. Right? Right. You will be given. And that is where we will be discussing most of the things. So these 4 topics that we will be discussing. And these topics I can say are so easy that even you people can understand. You can understand, how, easy they are. Right? I don't have to tell you anything. They are very, very easy topics. So what are we discussing here? Starting with the personal administration. In personal administration, we start with human resource development. Human resource development. Then we will look at recruitment. Training. Then position and rank classification. Position and rank classification. Then we look at promotions. Then performance evaluation. Then discipline. Then code of conduct and code of ethics. Code of conduct and code of ethics. Then we will talk about civil services neutrality and civil services commitment. Civil services neutrality and civil services commitment. Then we will also talk about grievance redressal mechanisms. Grievance redressal mechanisms. Then employer-employee relations. Employer-employee relations. So broadly, these are all the topics that we will be talking about. First, we will be looking at theoretical aspects. Then we will look at all of them from Indian administration point of view. This topic is interesting because this is what you are going to do after you get into services or before you get into services. What kind of reforms that are needed in our recruitment process. This year the question was asked. And what kind of reforms are needed in training? What kind of reforms are needed in lateral entry, position and rank classification? What kind of reforms are needed in a code of conduct and code of ethics? All this about civil services reforms. We have spoken about this some time back in our Indian administration classes also, but we will be discussing them in a more detailed manner. So let us start with the concept called human resource development, HRD, human resource development. So this is what we said all the time. The objective of organization is to maximize efficiency. Objective of organization is to maximize efficiency. So we have so many thinkers who had come up with their theories. First it was scientific management theory. Right? We started with scientific management theory. What did Taylor say here? He said that organizations can maximize efficiency by following his scientific management principles. And what is the essence of scientific management? According to Taylor, is mental revolution. He said that mental revolution is the essence of scientific management, wherein he said that there should be revolution in the minds of both the workers as well as management, that their interests are not conflicting in nature. And then he said that people are motivated by monetary incentives, money. Money is the most important motivating factor. And then this scientific management theory was further expanded by neoclassical thinkers who said that money is necessary but not sufficient to motivate the people. Motivation is multi-dimensional. It includes social and psychological aspects of people working in the organization. They said that organization is not a physical structure but a social system consisting of dynamic human beings. Then this was further expanded by behavioral thinkers like Chester Bernard, who said that organization is nothing but a social system of a group of people coming together in a voluntary manner to satisfy their common objectives. And then we have these post-behavioral thinkers. And it was Douglas McGregor, as we have mentioned, has popularized the concept of human resource development. Before McGregor, people working in the organization, they were called only employees. They were treated as another factor of production. It was only McGregor who recognized them as human resources. As we discussed at that point of time, when McGregor came out with the theory, it may not be that much popular because the organizations still were following classical techniques, because it was the industrial sector that was dominating the countries around the world. And from 1980s onwards, what we have witnessed is service sector, especially with IT. That is where we realize that this machinery has its own limitations. At the end of the day, you have internet and computers and laptop, everything, but someone has to working on the computers. That is when organizations realize the importance of human beings in the service sector. In service sector, as we said, the most important factor of production is human beings. That is when every organization has recognized the fact that human resource development is the crux of organization. Their efficiency in the long term depends on their ability to manage their human resources. That is how the concept of HRD had become very important. And some of you have worked in the private sector, they must be knowing that there is HRD everywhere in every department. So what does this human resource development talk about? What does it talks about? What do we say here is that human resource development in organizations includes everything. HRD in organizations includes everything from recruitment to removal. It includes everything from recruitment to removal. Recruitment, training, performance evaluation, promotions, grievance redressal mechanisms, code of conduct, employer-employee relations, and this position and rank classification, everything is part of what we call human resource development. You are talking about the structural aspects of organization as well as psychological aspects of people working in the organization. You are recognizing the fact that they are human beings and you must give importance to their social and psychological aspects also. So let us look at all of them, right from recruitment to removal. As I said, first we will talk about the concepts in general, then we will talk about what kind of recruitment process is there in India. When we talk about all these things, we are only talking about public organizations, that is the government. We are not concerned about private organizations. That is what we have to remember. And we are talking about only in specific about Indian administration. Even though we talk about the recruitment processes in other countries, but our objective is only to talk about how the recruitment is there and what are the major problems, all those things from Indian administration perspective. So let us start with recruitment. What is recruitment? How do we define this recruitment? What do we say here, recruitment? We say that recruitment has two important components. First one is selecting the right kind of person. What do you mean by selecting the right kind of person? Selecting the right kind of person with the necessary skills, knowledge and competence. With necessary skills, knowledge and competence. Second stage in recruitment process is assigning him right position within the organization. Selecting the right kind of person and assigning him right position within the organization. That is what we say recruitment. First, selecting the right kind of person with the necessary skills, knowledge and competence and assigning him right position within the organization. You are selecting an engineer and he should be appointed in the engineering department. You are selecting an accountant, he should be working in the accounting department. That is what we say recruitment. Then proceeding further, we say that recruitment broadly in the world we have two different types of recruitment. First one is what we call spoils system or patrimonial bureaucracy. Spoils system. Second one is recruitment on the basis of merit through open competitive examination. Recruitment on the basis of merit through open competitive examination. And in the world we follow both of them. This spoil system we can see mostly in politics, right? Wherein the Prime Minister selects his ministers on the basis of their loyalty. Nothing else is required. Second one is recruitment on the basis of merit through open competitive examination. Next, proceeding further, when we talk about recruitment, we say that again there are two different types of recruitment. One is recruitment from within, recruitment from without. Recruitment from within, recruitment from without. So, what do you mean by recruitment from within? That means promotions. Means promotions. Recruitment from within means promotions. Normally, middle and higher levels in the organization. Middle and higher levels in the organization are filled in through recruitment from within, through promotions. Middle and higher level positions in the organization, normally people are recruited through promotions. Promotions. Why? Because they require knowledge and experience. You need experience of organizational structures, procedures and everything. For example, a cabinet secretary, it has to be through Promotions only. Can I take someone from outside and make him cabinet secretary? No, because cabinet secretary means he must have complete knowledge about the work procedures and processes and structures of the government. Who must have put in at least 35 years of service in the government. Right? And recruitment from without means recruiting from outside the organization through open competitive examination. Recruitment from outside the organization through open competitive examination. Outside the organization. Through open competitive examination. Recruitment from outside the organization. That is what we say. Through open competitive examinations. Then there are different stages in recruitment process. Promotions we will be looking at little bit later. How promotions take place. Now there are different stages. Right? What are they? We talked about two different stages here. First one is negative recruitment and positive. Negative and positive. So, through negative recruitment, you are removing non-serious candidates from recruitment process. Non-serious candidates from recruitment process. Removing non-serious candidates. Positive recruitment means you are selecting the best from the candidates who are available. Selecting the best. Right? So this is what normally UPSC also follows. UPSC also follows the same thing. For example, prelims examination, what UPSC call it as elimination. That is what we call negative. It is about elimination. Eliminating non-serious candidates. That is what UPSC says. Eliminating non-serious candidates. The objective of prelims. Sometimes, some time back, a question was asked in Lok Sabha. Why UPSC is not taking into consideration the marks scored by candidates in the prelims examination? What are the marks that you get? Will that be taken into account in your final selection? No. UPSC has said that the objective of prelims examination is to eliminate non-serious candidates from the recruitment process. And they have used some other word, unparliamentary word. They said that the objective of prelims is to eliminate the rascals out of examination process. If you don't clear prelims, you know. Right? Even for that only you have to clear prelims also. Right? That is what we say. And UPSC says that mains as well as interview is part of selection. Mains and interview are part of selection. Whereas prelims is about eliminating the candidates. Similarly, if you look at private organizations, what do? They follow both of them. First, they will fix the conditions. For example, if you are applying to Infosys, what do they say? They say that you must have completed your engineering from a reputed college and you must have scored this much marks. Will they take a history graduate to be working in as a programmer in Infosys? No, because that is what they do. They eliminate all non-serious candidates by putting up the conditions for application. Right? Then among them, they will conduct examination and they will take the best. That is what we call selection. That is why we say that it has two stages. One is the first stage is the stage of elimination, second one is the stage of selection. So this is what we say about recruitment. Now, how does UPSC recruits every year? What is the process? What is the timeline? So first, UPSC will ask the ministries and departments, what are the vacancies for various positions. UPSC will be conducting examinations for more than 27 services. Now it has come down because railways have said that they will have their own separate examination. Right? They will conduct examination for all India services, IAS, IPS and Indian Forest Service, IFS. And then rest of them are central services. Then they also conduct examination for Group B services also. So what do? They will ask the ministries and departments, what are your vacancies? And they will ask the state governments regarding what are their vacancies for IAS and IPS. You must have seen recently, there is a controversy regarding this posting of IAS officers. We will talk about all of them because that is what our syllabus is. Right? So, coming back here, once the UPSC gets the information from advanced information from the state governments and the ministries and departments, every year so many people will be retiring. So you have to fill in those positions. What Modi government is doing is that after people are retiring, they are not filling those positions, they are cancelling those positions, they are removing those positions. Neoliberal state. In neoliberal state, that is what we say. We talk about downsizing of administration. Right? That is what happens. So then after that, the next thing is that UPSC will come out with a notification. Notification mostly will be coming in the month of January end or first week of February. This year also I think it will be the same. Right? This notification will give us information about the number of vacancies and also the qualifications and also the process of the examination when they are going to conduct a prelims and mains and so on and so forth. And after the notification, then they will ask the students to apply. Nowadays it is only online. Right? You don't have to go to UPSC to submit it. Everything has to be online. And at the stage of prelims examination, your applications will not be verified. Verification applications will be done only at the stage of mains. And after the application, then they will scrutinize for basic details. And then the exams will be held in prelims. Exams will be held in the month of May or most probably June. Now in the last 2 years, because of Corona, they were held in October. And after that, within 1 month, they will come out with the results. Then the real selection starts. Prelims examination is only an examination of elimination, but not of selection. It is only of elimination. So then those who are eliminated in the prelims or those who are selected for mains will be taking the main examination. Prelims is objective, whereas mains examination is descriptive in nature. Then UPSC will again ask you to come out with filling another application form called DAF, detailed application form, wherein you are expected to give your preferences for state cadres also, and you are also expected to give your preferences for services also. Everything is given, and once it is given, it cannot be changed. Then the mains examination will be held. After 2 months, the results will come out. You will have personality test, what is called interview, and your marks and mains and personality test combined together will decide your rank and ultimately your service as well as cadre also. Everything will be decided on the basis of your marks, on the basis of your preferences also. Some people might come out on the top, but still they still prefer police. 2 years back, one of our students, he got 13th rank, but he still preferred police service only. Right? He wanted police only, and he got police only, and he got his home cadre also. So very happy. That is what. Not everyone will be opting for IAS. Some people also will be opting for police. Some people will opt for foreign service. Some people will opt for RSIT also. 2 years back, one of our students, she got into IAS, so she got into top 50 ranks. She was supposed to get IAS, but she opted for IRS. So it depends on the choices of the people. So this is how the recruitment process. UPSC finally comes out with the results, and then the president will notify, and because the Home Ministry will do the background checking. If you have any FIRs registered against you, then you will not be eligible for any government job. Sometime back, one of our students, he got into IPS. Still, till now, he did not get any service because there was FIR that was registered against him. UPSC keeps on telling him. Government says that Ministry of Home Affairs, go and get that FIR quashed against you, then we can take you into services. So be careful, right? Very important. That is what we say here. So this is how the recruitment is done. As we proceed, we will look at what are the recruitment, what are the major problems with recruitment process in India, and what are the solutions. We can stop it here for today, and tomorrow we will continue with the rest of the other things. Right? You please try to get that booklet also tomorrow.